So how many are the Toastmasters? Can you raise your hands? And the rest are guests. So after this exercises, after the education session is over, I'll probably divide this into 2 rows and these 2 rows, and I'll be giving a small case study. So 2 rows there and 2 rows front. That will be doing the beginning and the closing of the case study. So, how many of you are all interested on a nice weekend to go for a nice lunch to a restaurant? Everybody likes to have. When you go to a nice restaurant, what is the thing you do? You will see the menu card, isn't it? What did you first see in the menu card?
Right.
Okay. I'm talking about the food. What did you first see in the menu card? Starters, soup. Somebody likes to have a nice glass of juice. Why do we like to go with starters first? Simply because we want to eat.
You see how good it is.
Yeah, but one of the reasons why we like to go with small starters is basically they are small bites of food, and when we have starters, they will whet our appetite, and we feel like eating a little bit more. Some soups, in fact, make us eat more what is there on the menu cards. That's why the restaurants have clearly and very cleverly planned starters. Okay. In the same way, you can compare a speech just like a nice meal in a restaurant or even at your home if you're willing to cook a full 3-course meal. It's very important to have a good start to your speech. Is it possible to show the PPT slides or otherwise it's all right?
Share.
Yeah, if you're showing, then you can start with the first slide. So it is very important to have a very good start and beginning to your speech. Why do we need to have a good start to our speech? Nowadays, the attention span of people is very low. People are looking at mobiles or people are looking at some other person, chatting with some other person. So we need to get the attention of our audience very immediately, to the point, immediately, quickly. When you're here, you need to get attention. And that's why it's very important to have a very good start to your speech. That is why the beginning of your speech is very important. Okay? Right. Grabbing the attention of the audience. Then immediately you need to introduce your topic. What are you going to speak about? Don't dilly-dally the topic. Start with the topic. Get into the topic. And the next thing is to establish a rapport. If I come and stand here and say, good afternoon, everyone. Today I am going to speak about this education session without any energy, without any interaction, then you won't feel connected. You need to have eye contact with the audience. Once you come here, you have to give full attention to audience, be energetic, be enthusiastic. These are very important to get the connect immediately. Otherwise, audience will lose the interest. So that's how you start with opening your speech, the beginning of your speech. Once you know that now this is going to be your speech beginning, don't drag the beginning of your speech for a very long time. You have a very limited time. Say your speech is of say 5 to 7 minutes. Make sure that your beginning of your speech is just close to just 5 to less than 10% of your total speech time. For example, my speech is 7 minutes and say 10 seconds or 20 seconds. Your beginning of your speech, the opening of your speech should not take more than 30 to 35 seconds. Whatever you need to say it in that particular time and start your main body of your speech. That's how it is. Okay. After here, online people can also hear me, right? Is the audience in the online able to listen? Voice is low.
Yes, ma'am. We can listen.
So you can listen. Okay. Now, how you can have good techniques for beginning your speech or opening your speech? Mainly, why we need opening techniques? We need opening techniques because we also, as a speaker, when we come here and speak, it is not easy. We need to recollect our points. We need to calm our nerves. For all you know, I'll be standing here, my insides will be jittery. I would be wondering, oh God, am I going to forget some point? So I need to have that good opening to warm up my brain and my thoughts and to present it to you. That's why it is good for a speaker to have a good opening. Now, what are the techniques for opening the speech? Talk about what is the importance of your topic. For example, you're talking about a social media or about living life with good human connections. You can say living your life in social media or spending time on social media is good and you get information. But overspending time on social media will make you a human without real connections and make you feel like a robot. When you say something like this, the audience will warm up to the topic. They know, okay, this is something about the social media or something about, real human connections, building connections. The topic is about human nature. So they will immediately start listening to you. Second, make a startling statement. Many times you hear common people make some very shocking statement. For example, here they have written smoking kills. You can choose what is your topic. You can see what is your topic. And relating to that, you can make a very startling statement. Have you heard that stress is the new silent killer? Or sitting is the new smoking? These are all startling and shocking statements. Once you throw them at the audience, they will immediately get hooked to your speech and they will be glued. They will not be able to remove their attention from you. So such a kind of a very shocking or a very startling, but it should have some connection to the speech. Don't say that, hey, do you know that sitting is the new smoking and then talk about some technology. Then they will be totally disconnect and people will start wondering why he made that statement. Okay. The third one, arouse suspense or curiosity. Now I want to, but you all will be thinking, what is she going to do next? When you want to arouse a suspense or a curiosity, do something which audience never imagined that you will do. You could narrate 4 lines of poetry, but it should have a rhyme or a lyrics, or you could say something in the form of a song. For example, in one of my speeches, I went to the audience with this, like this, and I started my speech this way. Dosa, sambar and idli, uppa, khichdi and chutney, dal, rasam and some rice, makes breakfast, lunch and dinner nice. The way to a man's heart is through his stomach. And if I will cook for my family, I thought I will find love in their hearts. But cooking became an irritation when menu was a repetition. This kind of lines and this kind of you can say dialogues, they immediately give a little bit of curiosity as to what is the topic. The actual speech was about being grateful for food, what food we are eating every day. Our family is cooking, our moms are cooking food for us, so we should be grateful for that food. So I was actually going to take them towards that particular topic. Was actually a serious topic, but with this kind of a opening lines, I managed to build a sense of lightness, but at the same time, strong interest towards my speech. Tell a story or anecdote. You can even start with a nice story or anecdote. For example, it can have a little bit of a humorous twist as well. You can say that my friend and I were eagerly waiting for CA exam results. I was waiting for his results more because I knew I am going to fail and he's going to pass. So something like that, some anecdote, but it should have a personal care. You should not say that there were 2 friends and they went to see the exam results and they did not know who will pass, who will fail. Instead, if you bring your own connect, it's with you, it's about you. Then what happens? There is a personal touch with the audience. Ask a rhetorical question, which means the answer is already known to people, but you ask as a question so that they will answer you back. For example, do you know CA is one of the toughest exams to pass in the world? That everybody knows CA is a tough exam, but when you ask like this, people will say yes, and you get that speech going. Or you can even say that, do you know that communication is 38% of non-verbal, 7% is words, and the rest is through non-vocal. In this way, you will give some statistics, some connect, then people always have that interest. Some techniques for opening your speech, it will all depend upon what is your content. But generally, this kind of opening works for all the topics, all the subjects. Okay. Most common, we always have this beginning with this quote. There are so many quotes, and every quote has a connection with so many different topics. So choose your favorite author, choose your favorite quote. You're talking about facing fears or courage, you can say, everything that you want is on the other side of fear, something like that. Or if you're talking about being happy in life, being not worrying about life too much, you can say make your smile cheap and anger expensive. Such small, small, simple quotes will make it easy for you also to go into the topic. Then there is amuse the audience. Many people like to start with a joke, but please make sure that the joke is not you. Don't make the joke on the audience, because when you immediately say, hey, you're looking so funny, then people are going to not connect with you. Let this joke be on you. For example, I started my one of my speeches with a joke on myself. My life is a series of fucks. Hey, I'm not talking about my marriage. That is like Amazon, non-refundable and non-replaceable. So something, if you say like this kind of a joke, then people start laughing, people start enjoying, and you get into the flow of your speech. Dramatizing, you can always add some drama to your speech. Whatever, for example, you can immediately begin with something serious. In this year, this happened, or something really terrible happened. But generally, we avoid using too much of dramatics. We want us to come to, we want to be here on stage and start with some light and simple openings. Reference the occasion. This is usually for specific speeches. It's not for all the speeches. For example, you have a milestone meeting, or for example, you are going to a place and you are giving a speech for a particular occasion. At that time, you can always delve into that place, that the history of that place. For example, you can say that 5 years back, a group of 20 members, dynamic members, they assembled together with a purpose to share the communication skills with everyone. And they formed this wonderful club called as Emerging Leaders, Toastmasters. And from then till now, this club has grown by such leaps and bounds. So that kind of statements will immediately connect with the listener. They will also become aware of what is the history of this particular occasion. And this is only to be used for occasional speeches. Don't try this with any technical speech or with any humorous speech, because it will not gel with that particular type of content. So make sure that you use your opening techniques with care. What goes with what. There are other techniques, easy techniques, for example, audience participation. You come on stage and you can ask, somebody asked, have you all had lunch today? One of our speakers, isn't it? And then somebody will ask some other question. So where I'm asking a question and audience is giving an answer. Some people like to do some kind of a demonstration. This demonstration will happen only if you're doing a specific speech where you need to do the demonstration. Don't come and dance or jump or run around without necessity. Every action that you do has to have a purpose. So that is how the opening technique should be. But by far, for most of the speeches, safe techniques are, as I said earlier, using the quotes, using some rhymes, breaking into a song, small short song of 4 minutes with some action, really catches the audience interest. Okay, you can go through all of them. Now, some of the things that you should absolutely know when you're starting your speech. When you come on the stage, don't tell the audience, you know what, it took me 1 hour to prepare for this presentation. Oh, then the people will think only 1 hour. What she will prepare in 1 hour, what session she's going to deliver to us, what will be the quality of that session. Or don't say, I really worked for 10 days to prepare this session. That also will backfire. It took her 10 days to give this session. So don't say that audience that I worked hard for you. Audience does not want to know that. Audience only wants to see what you're actually delivering to them. What is the content you're giving them. Avoid being dull and boring. When you're on the stage, show the energy, talk to people with enthusiasm, interact with them. That's important. And then avoid delaying your talking. Once you're on stage, you should not say, thank you, Tejasvi, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you to the Ola cab who brought me here despite so much of traffic. Thank you to my family who allowed me to come and give the Toastmaster education session. If you keep telling all these kinds of statements, I want to thank him, I want to thank her, I want to thank that tree or something, then what happens? You are delaying your speech. An audience is getting restless. Okay. When is this speech going to start? What is going to happen? What is the topic all about? So these are absolute no-no when you are giving your speech. These are the points which should stop. So in conclusion, I will say a dynamic beginning is very important for you to deliver an effective speech. So this is about opening of the speech, the beginning of your speech. And then you are going to do the main body of your speech. That I leave it to you all. You all will be able to script it when you finish the opening of your speech. Let us come to the conclusion, how to make the speech ending. Now you had your opening, you have the main body or the main content of your speech. How do you finish your speech? How do you close the speech? Remember how you are in a restaurant, you had soup, you had a starter, you had main course. Do you leave without having a dessert? Nobody likes desserts. Or majority having diabetes. Most of us like to have something, at least we'll check what is in the dessert menu, isn't it? And if we like it, we will definitely order or we will share with our family. Somebody will force someone to have half and we'll have half, isn't it? So dessert is always like how you end your meal with a good taste in your mouth. Same way, the closing of the speech is something which is very essential to make a powerful impact on the audience. A speech that doesn't have a good closing is always forgotten by audience because they say, the last word that is said is remembered the longest. So audience always remembers for your last final words that you said in your speech. So that's what, achieving a sense of closure. We want closure, whatever we do. We want a sense of completion. We don't like anything to be incomplete. And also your closing point makes a powerful impact. That's why we need a closing. Same way, just like your opening, the closing of your speech should not be too lengthy. Maximum, it should not be just, it should be close to just 5 to 10% of your speech time, 35 to 40 seconds. If it is a 7-minute speech. If you are giving a longer speech, then you can take the liberty of even speaking for 1 minute as your closing. Closing techniques. As usual, give powerful quotes, important quotes. You can even give, if you are proficient in Tamil, you can give a nice, powerful Tamil quote, single line. But make sure you explain that line because you know what happens. Quotes which are very powerful, even if you say it in English, still they create an impact. For example, the speech that I gave about the food, in the end, I gave one Sanskrit quote. Annam na nindaya tad which means never complain or criticize food. That's a very important quote, but I also give the meaning of that quote, which means never complain or criticize food. So if you are comfortable using a Tamil quote or a Hindi quote or a Sanskrit quote, by all means use it, but it should be one line. Just give the meaning of that quote. Amuse the listeners. Yeah, you can give some funny joke or anecdote, but it should be short line. And make sure that it hits the humor quotient in the listeners. Dramatizing your speech. For dramatizing, there's nothing much that you can do. You've already told your main content. You could probably use powerful lines. For example, I had mentioned, that do you remember how you sat with your family and had this particular food? Or, do you remember that this is the taste of rasam? Or have you thanked your family, the person who cooked you for this particular food for you? So these are the things you can ask, those kind of questions. And you can also end with a nice quote. You can say that, cooking is love made visible and happiness of the belly is irreplaceable. Such kind of rhymes, wordplay, all this gives a very nice ending to your speech. Yes. Telling short story or anecdote, making it short. This short story anecdote I will not recommend for 5 to 7 minute speech. Why? Can someone telling short story or anecdote in the end? What will happen? Yes.
They forget the previous ones.
Yes, exactly. If you are giving a prepared speech of 5 to 7 minutes, refrain from giving another short story. If it is a bigger speech of say 10 minutes, 12 minutes, when you come to your higher level project, then you can use this and you can tell a short story again to summarize the ending. Otherwise, make sure you wrap it up with a small, quick ending. The other technique is asking for action. You motivate the audience, to take some action. For example, if the speech is about motivating or about about connections, about helping somebody, then you can say, when was the last time you messaged your friend with whom you didn't connect in a long time? When was the last time you asked your friend, hey, are you okay? Shall we talk? Something like this, somewhere, you can ask a question to the audience and make them feel that they need to go back home and do this, that kind of an ending. Don't be too preachy. Kanchan, you need to go and talk to your friend, you need to do this. Don't say advice to people. Make it such that, it is something that we both should do together. Don't be preachy. Don't give all yarn to audience in the ending. Okay, make it that they have to do this, something like that. What action, as I mentioned, you should tell what action you should take. And then rhetorical questions again, as you asked in opening, you say may you ask rhetorical questions in the end. For example, can we afford to lose any more of our forests? Can we afford to, take so much of stress? Can we afford to do this? Some question where we ask questions and the answers are already known in the speech. Refer to the beginning of the speech. Sometimes we have a particular topic. In that, we will say that, yeah, this is the topic and I have been speaking about this. In the end, you can also say that at the beginning, I had told you about the importance of, taking care of our forests. And then at the end, you can say that, yes, I had spoken like this in the beginning. And at the end, this is how we need to do. So make a reference of the beginning and the end and tie that two together. Summarizing your points. At the end, it's not necessary to summarize every point. Summarize only the main message of your speech at the end. Don't give the entire story at the end. Yes. How do you memorize? Many times we forget our ending. So best way, if you feel unsure, try to memorize your speech or make some small bullet points about your speech, how you're going to complete your speech. And then what happens many times when, however best we prepare, we forget some of the main point in our speech. And then when we're going to finish the speech, we remember that point. But I would say avoid doing that. Do not add anything new towards the end. Because then what happens, the whole speech goes for a toss. And the new point will confuse the audience. So let it be. Next time you can tell that point in another speech. So don't tell new points at the end. Let it be. And ending on time. Always remember what is your time limit for your speech. Please follow that very strictly and complete your speech on time. This is how you can do. So beginning and end, these two, they say that the art of beginning is very good. It's a great art, but more greater is the art of ending. So I hope I'm artfully ending my education session. We know great is the art of beginning, but greater is the art of ending the speech. As an exercise which you all can do later on, since we are short of time, I really want to take more time. The last speech which the person has spoken here in this club today, or maybe the next time you are meeting, take one speech and the body of the speech you all should keep. One team should do the beginning and one team should do the end. It should be spontaneous. You can devote some 5 to 10 minutes for this exercise. And then you can ask one of the volunteers to come and say beginning and end. So with these techniques you have used, just try it out. One speech of that of the meeting, one prepared speech. So one team says beginning, one team says end. Make it as a group activity. That will really bring some involvement. So with that, thank you for the opportunity and over to you.